You're drinking coffee every day, but there's a high chance you're destroying most of its health benefits without even knowing it. Not later right now, at the cellular level, where aging actually begins. Because this isn't about calories or sugar or even caffeine. This is about whether your body is repairing itself or quietly breaking down faster every single day. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Millions of people believe they're making healthy choices while unknowingly shutting down the very biological systems designed to protect them. The difference between slowing aging and accelerating it can come down to one small habit you repeat every morning. No warning sign, no obvious symptoms, just a gradual loss of function happening beneath the surface. And by the time you feel it, it's already been happening for years. That's why this matters more than you think. Because once you understand what's really going on, you realize this isn't about eating better. It's about whether your body is even able to use what you're giving it. And what surprised me the most wasn't what we've been eating all along, it was how the body actually reacts to it. Hello, I'm Dr. Nathaniel Li. I'm an emergency medicine physician and a medical researcher. After more than 30 years of studying how the body protects and heals itself and witnessing patients struggle with chronic diseases that I now believe, in many cases, could be treated far more easily than we've been taught, I began to question whether we've been missing something fundamental about the body's natural ability to heal. And what I discovered completely changed the way I think about disease. For most of your life, you've been told that food is fuel, something you consume to fill a gap, to give you energy, to meet nutritional needs. And on the surface, that sounds logical, but the reality is far more precise and far more powerful. You are not just eating to put something in your body, you are sending instructions. Every bite, every sip, every daily habit is a signal that tells your body what to do next. Whether to store fat or burn it, whether to increase inflammation or calm it, whether to repair damaged tissue or allow that damage to accumulate over time. Food is not passive. It is a biological control system. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because now, it's no longer about asking, is this healthy? It becomes, what is this telling my body to do? That cup of coffee you drink in the morning isn't just waking you up, it's interacting with your metabolism, your cells, even your DNA. The foods you choose throughout the day aren't just affecting your weight, they are actively influencing how fast you age, how well your body repairs itself, and how resilient your internal systems remain under stress. And the most important shift is this. Your body already knows how to heal you, just have to stop interfering with it and start activating it instead. And when you begin to see food this way, everything you eat from tomorrow forward will never look the same again. To understand why this matters, you need to see what's happening beneath the surface at a level most people never think about. Inside your body right now, you have a built-in repair system driven by stem cells. These cells live primarily in your bone marrow, and their job is simple but critical. They circulate through your bloodstream, identify damage, and help repair tissues from the inside out. When you're younger, this system works efficiently. But as you age, stem cell activity slows down, becomes less responsive, and less effective. That's when damage begins to accumulate. At the same time, there's another clock running inside every cell you have, your telomeres. These are protective caps at the ends of your DNA, and every time your cells divide, those caps get slightly shorter. The shorter they become, the closer your cells move toward aging and dysfunction. You don't feel this happening day to day, but over years, it defines how fast your body declines. And then there's fat. Not all fat is the same. You have white fat, which stores excess energy, and when accumulated around your organs, becomes highly inflammatory and dangerous. But you also have brown fat, which acts more like a metabolic engine. It burns energy, generates heat, and helps regulate your metabolism. The problem is, as you age, brown fat activity decreases, while white fat becomes more dominant. So now you have three systems shifting in the wrong direction: weaker repair, faster aging, and slower metabolism. And this is exactly where food becomes more than just nutrition, because certain compounds can influence all three at once. And that is precisely why Dr. Nathaniel Li does not see food as simple nourishment, but as biological signals capable of changing how the body actually functions. Now here's where things take a turn that most people never expect. One of the most powerful triggers for activating your body's repair system isn't a supplement, and it isn't a prescription. It's something many people consider a dessert. Dark chocolate, but not the sugary kind you find in most stores. We're talking about high flavanol dark chocolate, 80% cacao or higher, where the real biological activity lives. Inside cacao are compounds called polyphenols, specifically proanthocyanidins, and these compounds don't just support health, they send a signal. They actually call stem cells out of your bone marrow and into your bloodstream. Think of it like flipping a switch. These cells, once released, begin circulating, identifying areas that need repair: your blood vessels, your organs, even microscopic damage you can't feel yet. In one study involving adults over the age of 60 with cardiovascular issues, individuals who consumed high flavanol cacao showed measurable improvements in blood vessel function. Their circulation became more responsive, more resilient, because their own repair system had been activated. And that's the key difference. You're not adding something artificial into your body, you're turning on something that was already there. But here's where most people go wrong. They assume all chocolate works the same way. It doesn't. If it's loaded with sugar and low in cacao, you're not activating anything, you're just feeding the problem. The threshold matters, the quality matters, the compound concentration matters. And once you understand that, chocolate stops being a guilty pleasure and becomes a biological tool. But if you think this is the most surprising part, Dr. Nathaniel Li would tell you that you've only just begun to see a very small part of the picture. What most people don't realize is that some of the most powerful biological signals don't come from rare or exotic sources. They come from something as simple and familiar as tea. But not all tea works the same way, and the differences matter more than you think. Take matcha, for example. Unlike regular green tea, matcha is consumed in its whole powdered form, which means you're getting a concentrated dose of its active compounds. In laboratory settings, matcha extracts have been shown to affect cancer stem cells, the very cells responsible for tumor regrowth and resistance. That doesn't mean it's a cure, but it reveals something critical. Certain natural compounds can interact with some of the most complex biological systems in the body. Then there's oolong tea, which sits between green and black tea in terms of fermentation. This slight oxidation changes its chemistry in a way that can support metabolism, helping the body regulate fat more efficiently and potentially reduce abdominal fat over time. And then we move into something even more unexpected: pure tea, a fully fermented tea that many people assume has lost its benefits. In reality, fermentation creates something new. Pure has been shown to help activate brown fat, increasing the body's ability to burn excess energy, while also supporting the gut microbiome through naturally occurring probiotic compounds. This is where the paradigm shifts, because it's not about fresh versus fermented or raw versus processed. It's about how these transformations create new biological effects. And once you start seeing food this way, you realize that even something as simple as tea can influence metabolism, cellular behavior, and gut health at the same time. And then there's something even more familiar, something you likely drink every single day, yet almost no one fully understands what it's really doing inside the body. Now we arrive at the one habit almost everyone shares, something so routine, so familiar, that it rarely gets questioned: coffee. You drink it to wake up, to focus, to push through the day. But what if I told you that coffee is doing far more than keeping you alert? And more importantly, what if the way you're drinking it is quietly limiting its most powerful effects? Inside every cup of coffee is a compound called chlorogenic acid, and this is where things become biologically significant. This compound has been shown to influence your telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of your DNA that determine how quickly your cells age. The faster your telomeres shorten, the the faster your body declines. But regular coffee consumption, when done correctly, has been associated with slowing that process down. That means you're not just getting energy, you're potentially slowing the internal clock that drives aging itself. At the same time, coffee interacts with your stem cells, helping protect them from oxidative stress so they can continue doing their job, repairing your body from within. And then there's metabolism. Coffee has the ability to activate brown fat, the type of fat that burns energy instead of storing it. When brown fat is stimulated, it acts like a metabolic engine, helping your body burn harmful visceral fat, the kind that surrounds your organs and contributes to chronic disease. But coffee doesn't stop there. It also influences your gut microbiome, encouraging beneficial bacteria to produce short-chain fatty acids, which play a critical role in reducing inflammation and maintaining overall health. I've seen this firsthand in patients who made small adjustments, not drastic changes, just simple corrections, and began to experience measurable improvements in energy, inflammation markers, and metabolic function. But here's where everything shifts, because the way most people drink coffee may be canceling out a large part of these benefits. When you add milk or cream, the fats in dairy can bind to chlorogenic acid, trapping it in a way that reduces how much your body actually absorbs. In other words, you may still be drinking coffee, but you're not getting the full biological signal it was meant to deliver. And this isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. Because once you understand how something as small as this changes the outcome, you begin to see how many of your daily habits are shaping your health in ways you never considered. And perhaps the most surprising part isn't what coffee is capable of doing, it's how easily we've been interfering with it all along without even realizing it. Now let's look at something even simpler, something that doesn't feel powerful at all, yet has one of the strongest bodies of evidence behind it. Extra virgin olive oil. Not as a supplement, not as a trend, but as a daily, almost invisible part of how you eat. What makes olive oil different isn't just its fat content, it's the polyphenols it contains. Compounds like hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal that actively reduce inflammation at a cellular level. And inflammation, whether you feel it or not, is one of the central drivers behind heart disease, metabolic dysfunction, and accelerated aging. These compounds don't just sit in your bloodstream, they interact with the lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium, helping it stay flexible, responsive, and resistant to damage. That's where heart health actually begins, not in the heart itself, but in the integrity of your circulation. In large population studies involving hundreds of thousands of individuals, regular consumption of extra virgin olive oil has been consistently associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke. But here's where most people misunderstand it. They hear healthy fat and assume more must be better. It's not. Olive oil is powerful, but it's still a fat, and its benefits follow a curve, not a straight line. Beyond a certain point, increasing the amount doesn't increase the benefit and may even work against you. This is where precision matters. Using it as part of meals, in balance, allows those polyphenols to do their work without overwhelming your system. And this is exactly where the deeper principle begins to reveal itself. Because at this level, it's no longer about adding more good foods into your day, it's about understanding how each one functions inside your body. And this is where Dr. Nathaniel Li emphasizes a principle that very few people pay attention to. Sometimes the issue isn't what you're eating, it's how you're actually using it. Here's where everything becomes uncomfortably real, because the biggest problem isn't what you're missing, it's what you're doing every day without realizing the impact. Most people aren't failing because they're unhealthy, they're failing because they're unknowingly doing the right things the wrong way. Take coffee, for example. You drink it consistently, maybe even daily, believing it's helping you, but by adding milk or cream, you may be reducing the absorption of its most important bioactive compounds. You're still getting the caffeine, but not the full biological benefit your body needs. Then there's chocolate. Many people hear dark chocolate is healthy and assume any version will do. But if it's low in cacao and high in sugar, you're not activating stem cells, you're feeding inflammation instead. And with olive oil, the mistake is the opposite. You understand it's beneficial, so you increase the amount, thinking more will amplify the effect. It won't. Beyond a certain level, you're no longer enhancing the system, you're overwhelming it. And this pattern repeats across countless daily habits, small choices, subtle differences. But over time, they add up. Because these mistakes don't feel urgent. They don't create immediate symptoms. They operate quietly, beneath your awareness, slowly reducing the benefits you think you're receiving. And that's exactly why they matter. Because by the time you notice the consequences, they've already been shaping your health for years. These mistakes aren't loud, but they quietly take away most of the benefits you believe you're getting. At this point, you might be wondering whether all of this is theoretical or whether it actually shows up in measurable ways inside the human body. This is where the data becomes very clear. In clinical settings, researchers use a test called flow-mediated dilation, or FMD, to assess how well your blood vessels respond under stress. The process is simple but revealing. Blood flow is temporarily restricted using a pressure cuff and then released, creating a sudden surge, almost like a wave moving through your arteries. What scientists measure is how quickly and effectively those vessels expand and recover. Healthy vessels respond quickly. Damaged ones do not. In multiple human studies, individuals who consumed high flavanol cacao or followed dietary patterns rich in polyphenols showed significant improvements in this response. Their blood vessels became more elastic, more adaptive, and more resilient over time. And this isn't happening in isolated lab conditions. These are real people with real cardiovascular issues experiencing measurable changes. That means what you're eating isn't just influencing how you feel, it's changing how your body performs under pressure. The difference is visible, quantifiable, and repeatable. And when science begins to confirm these patterns consistently, we're no longer talking about possibilities, we're looking at outcomes that can be tracked, tested, and observed in real human systems. At this point, the question isn't whether these mechanisms exist, it's how you actually apply them in a way that fits your real life. Because the goal here is not perfection, and it's definitely not extremes. It's consistency, simplicity, and precision. You don't need to overhaul everything you eat or follow a rigid plan. Instead, you make targeted adjustments that allow your body to respond naturally. Start with your morning. If you drink coffee, drink it in a way that preserves its biological impact. Keep it simple. Minimize additives that interfere with absorption and let the compounds do their job. As you move through your day, incorporate foods that support these pathways without overthinking it. Use extra virgin olive oil as part of your meals, not in excess, but in balance. Choose dark chocolate that actually meets the threshold where its active compounds matter. And when it comes to tea, understand that different types offer different effects, so it becomes a tool, not just a habit. None of this requires drastic change. It requires awareness and repetition. Over time, these small decisions begin to stack, reinforcing the systems your body already depends on. And that's the shift. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're supporting processes. And once those processes are working, results follow naturally. You don't need to change everything at once, just start in the right direction, and your body will take care of the rest. What you're about to notice isn't immediate, and that's exactly why most people miss it. Within the first 7 days, subtle changes begin to happen beneath the surface. Your digestion feels lighter, your energy becomes more stable, and your body starts responding differently to the same foods. By around 14 days, inflammatory signals begin to decrease, even if you don't feel dramatic symptoms yet. Your system is adjusting, recalibrating, becoming more efficient at managing stress and repair. Then, somewhere around 30 days, the shift becomes more visible. Fat metabolism improves, especially around the abdominal area, and your body becomes more responsive to energy demands instead of constantly storing excess. And if you stay consistent, by 90 days, you're no longer just making small improvements, you're experiencing a systemic change. Your metabolism, your circulation, your internal repair mechanisms, begin working together more effectively, creating a level of resilience that most people don't realize is even possible. This isn't a quick fix, it's a gradual reactivation of systems that were already designed to work in your favor. And as these small changes begin to compound, you start to realize something important. Your body is responding faster and more powerfully than you ever expected. At this point, it's no longer helpful to think about these changes as isolated effects, because your body doesn't work in isolated systems. What happens in your gut doesn't stay in your gut. It directly influences your brain, your metabolism, and your immune response. The bacteria living inside your digestive system produce compounds that travel through your bloodstream, affecting inflammation, hormonal balance, and even how your brain processes stress and energy. When your gut is supported, your brain becomes more stable, your metabolism becomes more efficient, and your entire system begins to operate with greater precision. This is not about fixing one problem at a time, it's about restoring communication across the entire body. And once that communication improves, everything else follows. Energy stabilizes, repair mechanisms activate more consistently, inflammation becomes easier to control, and what started as a simple adjustment in what you eat becomes something much larger, a coordinated shift across multiple systems working together. At that point, you're no longer chasing results, you're rebuilding function. And that's when the real transformation begins to take shape, not as isolated improvements, but as a unified response happening across your entire biology. That's no longer a collection of separate changes, it's a system being rebuilt from within. If you step back and look at everything we've just uncovered, a pattern begins to emerge, one that most people were never taught to see. You don't lack solutions, you don't lack access. What you've been missing is the understanding of how your body actually works. Because your body was never designed to rely entirely on external fixes, it was built with an internal system that knows how to repair, regulate, and restore itself. The problem is not that this system is broken, it's that over time we've learned habits that interfere with it, block it, or simply fail to activate it. And once you see that, everything changes. Coffee is no longer just a drink. Chocolate is no longer just a treat. Olive oil is no longer just an ingredient. They become signals tools that either support your biology or work against it. And the difference between those two outcomes often comes down to details most people overlook. This is where control begins, not in extreme diets, but in small, consistent decisions that align with how your body is designed to function. And once you start making those decisions with awareness, you're no longer reacting to your health, you're shaping it. Because the question isn't whether you have access to the right foods, it's whether you truly understand how your body is meant to use them. If this changed the way you think about your daily habits, take a moment to save this video so you can come back to it when you need a reset. Share it with someone who believes they're doing everything right but still not seeing results. And if you want to keep learning how your body actually works, how to support it, not fight it, make sure you subscribe. Because once you understand the system, you don't just improve your health, you take control of it.